Thank you everybody for tuning in tonight. My name is Maeve, Communications and Program Associate at the Fund for Women and Girls. I have the pleasure of leading our TogetHER Planning Committee to bring you events like this fireside chat with some pretty amazing female business owners in Chester County who are really excited to hear from tonight. Thank you to all of our speakers for joining and our amazing TogetHER member and moderator, Erin, for helping us pull this together. Before we launch into the program, I just wanted to mention a few important things. First, please feel free to use the chat box throughout. Give a shout out, ask a question, add your thoughts or feedback to what these women share with you tonight. So we really encourage your participation. I'll also put a link to bios of our speakers in the chat box so you can learn more about them. Secondly, you may have heard about a few recent and exciting updates to our organization. So on March 1st, we launched our new name and logo. We are now known as the Fund for Women and Girls, Igniting Change in Chester County. To explain this evolution, I just want to show a brief video from our Executive Director, Michelle Legaspi-Sanchez. So please just give me 1 second while I share my screen.
This bill represents a historic.
Nobody's smiling.
Oh, they can't hear us?
Oh, good. Well, you're trying to be quiet.
You messed up. You should have said yes. We'll talk.
Sorry, I was.
You like it? Do you?
All right, and if you're not on mute, if you could just mute yourself, please, that would be great. Thank you.
Over the past 25 years, the Chester County Fund for Women and Girls has grown into a renowned community resource and leader. We have demonstrated that an investment in women and girls is an investment in the entire community. Hello from the Chester County Fund for Women and Girls. I'm Michelle Legaspi-Sanchez, Executive Director. From a group of women talking around the kitchen table as friends, committing themselves to helping women and girls in Chester County, to a nonprofit devoted to community-led grant-making, leadership development, and supporting other nonprofits working to improve the lives of women and girls, to a leader in providing young women with opportunities to rise and give voice to their passions as future advocates and change makers. And finally, to being a go-to source of information for our community-based partners and a champion for addressing the needs of women and girls. As our work and impact have grown, so has our need to convey a stronger, bolder visual representation of that impact. One that weaves together our past, present, and hopes for the future, and the fabric of the community to make it stronger. After a year-long exploration of our identity, we landed on the perfect name and visual to encapsulate all that we know and love about our organization, while also reflecting our bold vision for the future. For instance, the weave of the W in our new logo represents our efforts to weave together the many partners and supporters of our work, which underlines our role as a connector and leader in bringing folks together around the table in the fight for gender equity. Now we are thrilled to share that new vision and welcome our friends and supporters to join us as we move forward together as the Fund for Women and Girls, Igniting Change in Chester County.
So we really encourage you to check out our new website, thefundcc.org, sign up for our e-news to get the latest updates, or visit us on social media by searching for our new handle at @thefundchesco. And one last thing, the fund is also celebrating our 25th anniversary this year, and we'll be taking many opportunities throughout the year to call attention to our past, present, and future as we look forward to the next 25 years and beyond. So please stay connected with us to learn more and attend any of our upcoming events, like our 25th anniversary Making a Difference luncheon in May, to help us honor those 25 years of impact. And finally, we will be doing a little bit of networking at the end of this event. So we really encourage you to stick around for about 15 minutes, just a chance to connect casually and just meet someone new tonight. So thank you. We hope you stay and join us for that. And Michelle, is there anything that you wanted to add that I missed before we get started?
No, I think you covered a good bit, but I just also wanted to offer a welcome to our friends who joined us tonight. I will also say that we have another event coming up even before the luncheon, which is our virtual Champions of Change Summit coming up on March 26th, which will be the full morning of programming. And the focus will be inclusive leadership. And I think this great group of women will probably talk about that, because I know all four of our panelists really embody that. And I'm looking forward to hearing what they have to say. But also coming up in that program, it's a wonderful opportunity to hear more from Dr. Katina Sawyer, who is out of George Washington University and has done a lot of research around inclusive leadership. And we also will have 2 panel discussions featuring companies as well as individual females that we have honored for their leadership in helping women advance in the workforce. So we definitely encourage you to check that out. So welcome again, and just many thanks to Erin and Maeve for all their hard work and planning. And also again to these panelists, I can personally say that all of them are amazing. I mean, Reese's soaps have gotten me through this long winter with all the hand washing. The lavender lotion bar is my favorite. Reese, I've been using that every day. And Dee kicks my butt, you know, in my cold garage after I've indulged in too many treats at the Buttery. So all of these women are amazing, and just really happy to have them on board. So thank you again and welcome.
Agreed. And with that, let's get started. So we're going to first have our panelists just introduce themselves really quickly. So, you know, kind of just say their name and a little bit about their business, just so we can kind of get ourselves comfortable with who we've got. So I'm going to just go across the order of the top of my screen. So Reese, why don't you kick us off here?
Hi, I'm Reese. I own my own business, and I sell all natural and homemade product. And I'm 12 years old.
Such a superstar. Deanna, you're next here on my list.
Of course, I have to follow Reese. Deanna Harris. I am the owner of Find Your Strength Fitness. And I started my group because I wanted to be able to offer group training, group fitness training with the feel of the attention of personal training. So that's a little about me.
Perfect. And then Selenia.
Hi, everyone. Happy to be here. I'm Selenia Rhodes, and I opened a cafe bakery in Malvern called the Malvern Buttery with my husband about it's almost 6 years ago. And I have 3 kids, and there's a lot more to it, but I'll stop there.
But we'll get into those details.
Okay.
So the best place to start is kind of always at the beginning. So, you know, tell me a little bit about what inspired your business idea. And Deanna, let's start with you on this question. You kind of already started to give it to us in your introduction. So I just want to give you some room to expand a little bit on that.
So what inspired my business idea was actually just my lifestyle in general. Just a little bit of backstory about me. In 2016, I changed my entire life through fitness and nutrition and changing the way that I was living. And so even though I was working in corporate America at the time, and I won't give a lot of details, but I ended up pivoting to a career in the fitness industry. And so that's kind of how I got started with fitness in general. And I just realized that after a little while, there was a need, you know, when you have an entrepreneurial spirit and you're working in an environment where you can constantly recognize need for change and places where things can be improved, then you just kind of have to go with it, you know? You kind of have to go with it. I don't want to go too much in detail. So Erin, you stop me if I'm answering more than what you asked.
No, I think that's good. And I'll let Reese kind of now go next because, you know, from what I know, Reese, your business also has a little bit of a personal lifestyle connection for you. So why don't you share a little bit about what inspired your business idea?
So I started in 2017 because I had really bad eczema, and me and my parents were looking for ways to soothe it, and we were buying more product so it can go away. And that product was actually making my eczema worse. So we were searching and searching for more products, but we found nothing, and everything just made it worse or didn't help it. So we were looking for materials that we can make our own like bar or soap. And we finally came up with my first bar, coconut olive oil, and then I started selling it because other people also have eczema. So, right.
That's true. That's awesome. And then Selenia, I'm not sure I know too much about what really inspired the buttery.
Yeah. So when we moved to Malvern, we're outside of Malvern, of the town, but we're still in Malvern itself. And I was very pregnant with my third child, and I had them all in 3 years. So we had 3 babies essentially at the same time. And when we were exhausted, and my husband was working downtown, and on weekends, we just wanted to go somewhere daytime because by 9 p.m. we were crashed. So there was no going out to dinner, getting a babysitter, none of that. We were just home, kids. And then we realized that our town really just didn't have a place to gather daytime. It was, there were a couple of restaurants where you could go at night and have a drink or whatever, but that just was not our lifestyle at the time. Or now. But so we saw the need, and we really, we had lived in New York City for 4 years, and then in Seattle, outside Seattle, for another 4 years. And so we had the experience of good coffee and good pastries and sort of an international flair to bakeries and all of that. So we were very inspired by those moments, and we wanted to bring that to our town.
That's awesome. And it kind of sounds like with you, there was maybe, in terms of the timing of starting your business, there was kind of that family expansion reason to get into it. Was there anything else that helped you decide it was the right time to open the buttery?
Yes, we actually traveled to Europe. It was our first time away from the kids for a week for a very good friend's wedding. And we saw a little bakery that just, now that I think about it, if I saw it today, I probably wouldn't think twice about it, but there was something in that moment that clicked with us. And it led to us wanting to do it in our town. But also my husband had just decided to leave his job in Philadelphia, and he didn't know what the next step was going to be yet. And one thing I said to, we were looking at, what are we going to do? What are we going to do? We kind of did want to do something together, but at the time we weren't sure what it was going to be. And I said to him, why don't you can we just look at all the things that we read and that you look at, on a daily basis? And basically the entire book list was cookbooks and food and, something called the third place, which is the third place you go in your life. So you have work and you have home, and then your third place is your community place. And we just didn't really have that in our town. And so we started kind of putting 2 and 2 together, like, well, this is what we really want and what we're focused on right now. It just felt like the right time. And we had the ability at the time to do it.
That's important too. And Reese, your business kind of came out of that personal need, but how did you know it was the right time to start selling the soaps?
Well, it's always better. We knew that my parents helped me with this. It's always better to start young, because it's harder to start a business younger, because more people will support you and help build your business up. And also it's just always harder to start as you're older. And I always wanted to help people, so this is a way of me helping people.
Yeah. It's good to take advantage while you're young and get those first kind of learning steps in even. So that's exciting. Take that young energy, I guess, and channel it in. That's awesome.
I would say too, she's always had kind of an entrepreneurial spirit as well. So it just kind of came naturally for her to then start selling to friends and family. And that's kind of how she started out. But she's also, when she first started, she set up kind of a shop on the corner of where we live. If anyone's from Coatesville, right off of Oak Street in Rosemont, she set up like a little table out there originally. and was selling her soap and products right there as folks drove by, which was interesting. So that was kind of the first ordeal. But once I realized she was serious about it, or once, her dad and I realized she was serious about it, then we stepped into really kind of taking it serious and signing her up for different vendor events.
That's awesome. And then Deanna, you shared a little bit that yours kind of came out of a pivot from the corporate to fitness, but was there anything else that kind of helped like, now's the time I can get this thing started?
I mean, I think I made a little bit lighter of it than it actually was, the experience in and of itself. Where I began as far as my health and my lifestyle, a lot of times I like to say, I don't like to say, but I say I was literally killing myself with food and being sedentary. And there's so much bad information out there with regard to how to lose weight and all of these like gimmicks and bad ways to go, that once I figured out proper balance and what actually works and what can be developed as a lifestyle, it was just in me to make it my mission to help other people to get it figured out as well. And so, that's kind of where that part began for me, was just making it was really important to me to be able to help other people to figure out what I figured out and learn from everything that I had gone through and experienced.
And so Deanna, just staying on you for a minute, how did you fund your new idea, your new business?
Well, that's a great question, Erin. So, I wasn't as prepared, I'll say. And so fortunately I had some money saved, and I did have to dip into my 401k a little bit. But my husband and I decided to go ahead and go for it. And we built out this gym actually here in my house, which is how we started. And the idea was just to be really small, private training and small groups, like 2 to 4 people at a time. And so that's how it began. Yeah. That's how it started.
That's awesome. And Selenia, it sounded like yours kind of also came out a little bit of a work transition. You said your husband was kind of looking to be done his job in downtown. So how did you guys fund the Buttery and that space?
We actually took a loan, a substantial loan, which we'll be paying off for a long time. But again, it's always a risk. Business is always a risk. And before we opened, before we went into this, we took us about a year and a half to build the whole business out, but it took us about a year before that to really consider and plan our lives for the next 5 to 10 years, so that we would know that we can continue this business for that long. And well, nothing's written right in stone, but we hope. And so that's sort of how we made it happen. And it's still that's the case. It's just the loan is pulling us through.
That's awesome. A little scary, but you took the leap, and very exciting. And so coming finally to Reese here, how did you fund your new business? Amber, you talked a little bit about being kind of on selling soaps on the corner, but once you started to think about expanding it, Reese, what was that funding process for you?
At first, like when I was just beginning it, like my parents would help me out and stuff like that. But when I was like building up my business, I started paying for all the product and oils for my soaps and product. And when I was building up more and more money, then I just recently opened up my own shop, and my parents are helping me with selling a lot of soap and getting into events. So that's how I keep up my money and stuff like that.
Yeah, and Reese, she's not like one of those kids that need to spend her money. So I would say we've been very fortunate in that sense. Like she likes to save, and she understands why it's important to reinvest the money that she does make. So we've kind of been fortunate in that sense, where she's made enough to be able to not only reinvest in her business, but also spend a couple dollars on herself here and there, because she does like nice stuff. But one of her big goals was to open up that shop of her own. And even in the beginning, for us as her parents, we're like, this, and we're big on to making sure that we support our kids and whatever dreams and aspirations that they have. But even with that being said, when a 12-year-old talks about, or even at that time, 10, 11 years old, you're talking about opening up your own shop. We're like, yeah, way down the road, right? Or let's just stick to what we have at this moment. But an opportunity presented itself, and Reese is extremely serious for someone even at her age. So, we kind of took a leap on faith, knowing that Reese is still willing to continue to grow her business in the way that it needs to be grown to be successful.
That's awesome. And Reese, it's a great habit to kind of get into, to invest in yourself essentially, and to be your biggest, saver and supporter, because, unexpected challenges are ahead. So we'd be remiss to not cover the hot topic of COVID. No business is safe from challenges and obstacles, COVID probably being the number one thing on everyone's mind this year. So let's pop back over to Selenia, just thinking through being a restaurant. How did COVID really affect you guys, and how did the first few months of quarantine feel as a business owner?
Yeah, you're gonna hear my kids in the back. It was very intense, as it was for everyone. But we made the decision initially to fully close, even though so the first 2 days, we had to rework our entire setting, because we used to be a self-serve, help yourself kind of cafe. So we would lay everything out on a big table. We had a sneeze guard, but you could really kind of help yourself to a croissant or a piece of cake, and put it on your board and go to the table and come back for more. And we had a toast bar. So it was very community oriented. And as soon as this happened, we had to shut everything, put everything behind glass. We had custom things made to put them behind glass. And then about 4 days later or something, we just said, we made a more ethical decision than anything else to just shut down, because there was just so little information. And for us to put our entire team, we had a team of 30 something people working in a very open kitchen, in a space where people would just come in and out. And so we just decided to shut it down. And it turned into what we thought was going to be 2 weeks or something. It turned into 9 weeks of shutting down, which is very long for a restaurant. But in that time, we were able to pivot our entire business from a sit down, stay all day kind of cafe to a takeout restaurant, takeout cafe. And we also built an entire site where we did pre-ordering, day of ordering, and now we even do delivery. So it actually gave us those 9 weeks, allowed us time, which we never could find when we were open all the time, to grow into a different kind of business. And it was unexpected. It's something we never would have asked for, but at the same time, there were silver linings to that moment. And then coming back, we only were able to bring back 5 employees, which is also really tough. So we had to start small. And then as the time has gone on, now we're back to 25 employees or so. So we're getting there, and numbers are good with takeout because people are really tired of cooking at home and being at home. And it's worked out, but it definitely was a challenge.
And I mean, I know just because I go to the Downingtown Farmers Market like every weekend that you guys are sometimes at the farmers market, or you do pre-orders. Was that something you had done before COVID, or was that kind of just another opportunity to stay in business?
We were already doing the Malvern Farmers Market for a few years, but the Downingtown one was new. Actually, we added that after COVID, as a way. Actually, we've added a lot of streams of income because we just had to look for any other way to reach those numbers for the year.
That makes sense. I know I've been utilizing you guys at the Downingtown Market, so thank you for doing that stuff.
Thank you. I appreciate
Yeah.
it.
And Deanna, it just happened to you because I know that you really had started your business just a few months before COVID. Am I right on that timing? So
You are absolutely right.
so what was that experience like for you? You're a new business owner and the world has closed.
So I started at the very end of December 2019. And so we got rolling in January, and I was growing pretty rapidly. Like I said, I started off with this idea of 2 to 4 people, and it turned into like 10 to 12 people at a time. And it was great. And then in March, when everything started sort of coming out, and like the people were on the cruise ships, and we were like, oh, that's so scary, but it's all the way over there. And then I can remember, because I'm here in my house and I was training people that I know, I was like, you guys just wash your hands when you come in. We have this like assembly line. And I was like, you guys can all just use your own dumbbells. We'll be fine. And then like 2 days later, the whole thing from the state came out that gyms had to close. And I was like, okay. And so kind of like Selenia said, initially it was going to be 14 days. I laughed because I looked back at a Facebook Live video that I did, because I was like, all right, guys, well, since you can't come in here, I'll just hop on Facebook Live. We'll get our workouts done in the morning. And at the end of one of the videos, I said, all right, 2 days down, 12 to go. And my husband and I just had to laugh like, yeah, we had no idea. It was more like a year to go. So, so I basically, what I did very quickly, once I realized that this was going to be something long-term, I made a pivot to an entirely virtual platform, and I tried to make it as robust as possible. So I didn't want to use it as kind of like a crutch in the moment. I wanted to make it a real thing, and I wanted to continue to be able to open the opportunity for other people to come and join the group. I didn't want to stop my business in its tracks just because I had to go virtual. So I did a lot of research, and I bought some equipment, and just really leaned into the whole virtual concept. And I will say this just really quickly. COVID was definitely is definitely a challenge, presented its number of challenges, but it's also been a tremendous thing, because number one, it gave me, like Selenia just said, I have an additional revenue stream now, which I didn't have before, right? And then besides that, people who used to come here and train at 6 a.m. or at 9:30, they didn't necessarily know the people that trained at 6:30 p.m. And so now that we're virtual, everybody has come together. And, we do not only the training, but we also have discussion groups and accountability chats and nutrition and everything. So we've really become this like more cohesive unit now. And so, that's kind of the blessing in the mess.
That's exciting though. I mean, you guys are making it work.
Yeah.
And so Reese, I know you were mostly selling your soaps online kind of early last spring, and then you guys mentioned you've opened now an actual a physical storefront. So tell me a little bit about how COVID affected your business.
So in the beginning, when everything first started shutting down, we had this is before we opened the shop. We had a lot of people were ordering. There were so many orders coming in, so we had to deliver all of them. And now it was harder because events were shutting down. There was no events that we could go to, so it was really hard to sell. And then it started easing down, and there was some events opening up, so we went to some. So it's just harder to function when I'm not as public, as known now that I am better known. So yeah, it's also weird going up to somebody's house to deliver. It's you don't know to ring a doorbell, or because you don't know if they're comfortable and stuff like that with people coming to their door. So it's just weird.
Yeah. And I hadn't considered, you're right, because you guys were saying that you sold a lot of your soaps and stuff at these events, which probably all kind of dried up really quickly for several months, but you're getting some of those back now. Some are starting to open back up.
Yeah, we had a couple like opening up. We have some this month, so a lot more is opening up now.
That's good. And hopefully, like Michelle said, more people were buying soaps because everybody was washing their hands so much. So hopefully that helped bolster you. Really kind of the common theme I just heard from all of you was really taking this obstacle and figuring out how you turn it into an opportunity. And, that's really a superpower. But I would love to just hear, as women, and particularly women of color, women in minority groups, wanting to open a business, there definitely must have been some unique challenges. And Reese, let's just stay with you for a minute here. Being younger, what were some of those unique challenges that you faced? And then also kind of what was your superpower? So give me that just juxtaposition there.
So challenge was like when I first started, I guess I didn't know like how much time it would take out of my day to do all of this business stuff. Because when I was a little bit younger, I don't know if I say younger because I'm not even like over 20 years old. But like when I was younger, like I was still playing outside. I still play outside, but it's quarantine, whatever. But I was playing outside a lot. But I got this business and I had to make soap like every night. And it's just harder because it takes more time out of your day, school and then play outside. But it like limits your time.
Mm-hmm.
But my superpower, I would say, I guess, like my mom said, I'm more responsible. So, like, it's just grown on me that I have to do this stuff, whether I like it or not, if I'm taking this business seriously. And also, I'm a Black woman, and a lot of people support that. And I'm young, I'm an entrepreneur, so
that's awesome.
A young woman, especially of color, they'll want to support if they support one young woman, of course.
Awesome. And Deanna, let's just pop back to you. So unique challenges and then your superpower.
So unique challenge would be that I started my business before I anticipated starting it. I started it more out of necessity. The place that I was coming from, that relationship severed sort of abruptly. And so because I was going to start my own business eventually, but it was kind of like, okay, well, why don't you just start it right now? So I was like, okay, well, then that's what I'll do. So, so I started it. And so I would say, that initial, like just jumping in, like, okay, what am I going to do? Where are we going? What are we doing? That was the initial challenge. But my superpower is my story. Hands down. It's what I've been through, what I've gone through, my struggles, my victories, everything that I have inside of me that I'm so passionate about teaching other people. The love that I have for my clients. The fact that this is way more than just a business for me, a way to make money. It's so much more than that. And that's my superpower because people recognize that. And so despite those challenges, I was still able to thrive and grow because of my superpower.
That's awesome. I mean, if you can motivate yourself, and do things for your own ambition, that's a superpower in and of itself. And then Selenia, for you guys, what was some of the challenges that you faced or even still face, and what's your superpower?
The unique challenges, I would say, as a woman with children, opening a restaurant, it was my biggest challenge was balancing the two things. And that's, known all over the world that it's a challenge for women to balance those two things. It's an expectation and also a challenge. So when we first opened, we were working 7 days a week and I slept 3 hours a night And then I would wake up and do it all over again. And we had a lot of childcare. And that wasn't my initial goal. My goal was not to be there 21 hours a day for years, for a couple of years. And so that became, my biggest challenge. But I had not foreseen that it would be so much of me being there. I had foreseen that my husband would be there as much, or maybe not even that much. But so that was a big surprise. But it turned out to be harder to hire people that did the job how you wanted them to do it, and that were, sort of skilled enough in our area to do what we were asking. And so we now know that we need to train. We learned that very quickly, but that we can hire people and train. But first we have to train ourselves. And then I would say, and I'm gonna weave in the next question, if you don't mind, about naysayers, because I think it has to do a little bit with the superpower. So we had so many, I would say, surprised people when we told them that we were opening a bakery cafe. So people in our family, friends, people in our community, because we didn't have experience in this. We had never opened, we weren't restaurateurs, we hadn't owned even another business. My husband had done some e-commerce stuff, but not this kind of business. And so it really was sort of blank stares if they wanted to be polite, or just straight out, what? You don't know what you're doing. What are you doing? And so we are both the youngest children in our family, and we're used to being told that we don't know what we're doing. So we have gotten pretty good superpower. And the superpower that I think I have is to just say, you know what? Sure, if you think that, but I'm still going to go ahead and do it. And it's something, it's kind of like what Deanna said, like they said, well, you're not working here anymore. Well, guess what? I'm working for myself now, and here we go. And it just is one of those things where you don't know, at the time you don't realize you're doing that. But when I saw this question, I just thought that is really kind of how I guide my life. If it's something I really want to do, no matter how many people say it's not a good idea, you don't know what you're doing, or think about all these things that could happen, or I still will just find a way, I sort of follow my intuition. So I think that's the superpower.
That's awesome. And then, let's pop back to Deanna, because you kind of also started to talk about naysayers a little bit. So did you have any others besides kind of just maybe that not so great community coming out of work, or what's been your experience with naysayers, and how do you approach it?
Well, I think that because of my personality, and because people know that I'll say pretty much what I want to say when it needs to be said. For me, I think the naysayers are not necessarily like in my face naysayers. Like, there's not a lot of people who come to me and say, girl, you can't do that. What are you thinking? Because they know. And so for me, the naysayers are more so the people that I see who don't support me by just not doing anything. Do you know what I'm saying? That's sort of how I see it. It's like the people that are in my community or in my circle, or who, always thought so highly of me when I was doing a certain thing. And then when I start doing my own thing, and there's certain people who were driven to me and support me. And I'm not only talking about my clients, I'm talking about, or, my team, that's what I like to call them. Because you don't have to be on my team to support me, but I'm just talking about just people in general who just are quiet, they're mute. And you're like, I know you're out there, but you don't get the support from them. And I see it, but I don't spend a lot of time on it, because to me, it's not important. The people who are supporting me are the people that I lean into, because, that's just the way my heart works. I'm not going to spend time on nonsense. So
you can't put your energy there or dwell on it, because it's not a good mental space.
Right. We got too much work to do over here.
Yeah, you got too much to do.
Right.
And Reese, I probably feel like it's kind of similar for you. You don't have a lot of time to spend on naysayers. And we've talked, a little bit about how you're young and people want to support you because you're a young entrepreneur. But I also feel like there must be kind of the other side of that, people who look down on it because you're young. Did you have that experience with naysayers?
I haven't really. I mean,
I guess I can speak up here because as her parents, right, you see the other side of that, we're able to protect Reese from a lot of that type of stuff. Of course, we're not going to share that with her. But you get the little hidden messages, or you might feel like you need to take a step back as a parent, as promoting or feeling like you need not to promote too much of what this one specific child is doing. We have 5 children, so I try to balance that to make sure that I'm not favoring one over the other, if you will, as far as their accomplishments are concerned. But I like to call naysayers dream stealers. That's what they do. They steal, especially young people's dreams. That's why for us it's so important that we support our children and whatever it is that they want to do and want to accomplish, especially if they're willing to work towards it, because every young person has some type of dream or aspiration as a young person, right? But as they get older, what happens? The naysayers come in, the dream stealers come in, and they lose sight of that, which to us is heartbreaking. So we really try to protect our children from that. As they get older, we see it all the time, right? That's why we also tell Reese, the cuteness will go away eventually. I mean, she'll always be
be cute.
Always be cute, but it will go away eventually. She'll be an older entrepreneur. You won't be able to use that term, young entrepreneur. So what's going to set you aside from the competition, if you will, that's going to encourage people to continue to support you or buy your products from you.
Yeah.
I like to call them dream stealers, and they're out there no matter what. But how do you work through that? Like Deanna was saying, I see you, right? I see you. I'm not going to spend and put my energy there because I'm focused on the task at hand.
Yeah. And it's a really unique perspective. So thank you so much for kind of jumping in there and sharing that. Because it's probably good to, for Reese, for you to be protected a little bit, but also to maybe just get some exposure to it and just to kind of habit of how to deal with it as it will come in the future. So that makes total sense to me.
And really, if I could really quick, Reese, you actually have experienced a couple of naysayers, right? So at vendor events, remember, you're going up to someone and you're saying, I'm Reese, can I share my business with you? You've experienced someone basically either ignoring what you say or walking right past you as if they didn't even hear you, right? So that's kind of a naysayer, if you will. So she has experienced some of that. I don't know the words. Yeah, I don't know the word I'm looking for, but yeah.
Yeah. Interesting. But you keep going, right, Reese?
Yeah.
Yeah. Kind of sounds like that's all of you've all said. It's really what you have to do if you want your dream to kind of continue. You have to move yourself past it and trudge forward, even if it's slowly. So we've heard from all of you, just also kind of like community. Deanna, you talk about your team, not so much clients. Selene, you guys talked about wanting to make somewhere that people could really gather. Were there any local resources or even people within your community that was particularly helpful as you were starting to kind of make your business? I'm thinking of things like chambers of commerce, maybe a small business support group. Deanna, maybe let's start with you on that one.
So I didn't have any formal support like Chamber of Commerce or anything like that. I think because it was all done so rapidly. But I do have some friends who either were already, in the fitness business or had some sort of connection to starting their own business. And they were more than willing to help me get my footing. and given me some really great, resources, some tools to use, websites. I have a friend who's here right now, Chastity, and I just have to say, because she is here, she helped me so much, and it wasn't any kind of like, I didn't have to pay her. I didn't have to do any of that, right? But she helped me with getting my LLC started, and just continues to help me and support me. And so, yeah, that was more so my resources, just my village, if you.
Interesting. So Lenny, was there any formal resources you guys used or worked through, especially opening kind of like a physical storefront right downtown in Malvern?
We needed to have so many legal / town permits, so many permits of all kinds. And so it was exhausting, and they were not that helpful, to be honest. But the nice thing is that we had so much support from the local businesses that surrounded us, particularly the other restaurants. So instead of seeing us as a threat, the restaurants that were on our same street, which there are only a few, really were there for us. I mean, and they were brutally honest, which at the beginning was hard to hear, but they were right in all their advice. And they also were very supportive. That at times when we would run out of a sheet pan to bake things on, we would call them and say, do you have an extra whatever? Or they would, give us some produce if they had some lemons and we ran out of lemons, or and then we would reciprocate. We would send them either dessert for their staff, or we would, give them some fresh bread for their bruschetta or whatever they're making. And so it's really, that has been such a beautiful community that I'm so grateful for in Malvern.
That's awesome. So almost like an unofficial small business support group, nothing really formal, but.
Yeah, there is a small business group in Malvern, and they meet every so often, but it's more formalized. And I tend to, both of us, John and I, work more informally. And so that's where we feel like we can really truly make the connections.
Got it. And then Reese, for you, it sounds like your parents were definitely good resources. Was there any other resources that you used when you first started out with your business?
Just like interviews and other events to like get me heard and out there. They basically supported me, like the community and stuff like that.
That's awesome. So kind of utilizing like your unofficial network, maybe like of people you already knew. Yeah. And so then, kind of knowing that community has really bolstered your business, even if it was an informal one, how do you give back to your community? How does is there any philanthropy that Reese's Soap is able to do, or partnerships that kind of benefit local groups?
Well,
You can share about what you did over Christmas time. You collected funds to help a local family. Remember, you were able to write a $1,000 check. I know it seems so long ago.
Wait, what?
Remember when we did the Taste of Coatesville and we were collecting donations to donate to a local family, and we were able to donate the $1,000 check?
So we basically, there's we made a thing where people can nominate families that would, we would donate money, and we were collecting money to give $1,000 check to a family, and someone in Coatesville won the check.
That's awesome. So you kind of used your platform to then help give back to another family within your community. That's incredible.
She also, it's not released yet, but she has a soap that is coming out, kind of a soap with a mission, if you will. It's called Gold 101, and 10% of the sales from that soap will go to the Bridge Academy here in Coatesville, which is an organization that Reese has been a part of for a long time. And she is extremely grateful for the experiences that she's had there. So she'll be doing that. And then Reese, you have one goal this year as far as philanthropy and giving back As far as you know what I'm talking about?
I think so.
Okay, you want to share it?
At the end of this year, give a waiter $1,000.
That's so
So-
cool.
Hopefully you can't hear my son in the background screaming on the video game. I'm sure some of you all can relate. But if you didn't hear what she said, she would like to give a waiter or waitress $1,000 tip later in the year.
That's awesome. That's just really great. Better bless somebody in your community. Deanna, how does kind of giving back and philanthropy really show up for you in your business or your personal life?
So I have to shout out my team right now because over the holiday we were able to I was able to collect over $1,000 for 2 families. One was associated with Chester County Social Services, and then the other was a military family. And that was really cool because my team is not super huge. I mean, we're less than 100 people. But I collected not only money, but also the military family, the child had some gift requests. And I mean, those gifts came rolling in. I know that kid was like, what? So they really stepped up to the plate and they made that happen. And so that was really important to me. On another side of that doesn't have to do with any holiday things. And one of the reasons that I wanted to start my own business is so that I could be more involved with the community. So like I've gone to several different schools and run like just a day of fitness there for either the staff or for the children. I've done a couple of church groups, so having the freedom to do those things is really important to me. And I'm actually getting ready to open my first location in the end of April, May of this year. Oh my God, it's like a month away.
Soon.
But I am planning to run wellness clinics once I do that so that I can help more people become more aware about how to realistically change their lifestyle through proper nutrition and through fitness. And I was just reminded that I've also served as a mentor to some college students. So that's a really, really cool thing. College students who are on the path to becoming who have the passion for becoming something within this industry. And so, yeah.
That's awesome. So really being able to have the freedom, you kind of said, to show up for your community in the ways that you feel you can kind of best give back.
Yes. And it
That's
doesn't always
really
have
cool.
to be about the company or,
Mhm.
whatever. It's just about helping people.
Yeah. And Selene, I know we kind of heard a little bit about how you give back to the small business owners just with exchange of goods sometimes, but how is there any philanthropy missions or initiatives that the Buttery is really focused on?
So when we first thought about opening a business, we wanted to have an official philanthropic arm to the whole business. And then as I've spoken about with the balance with work and life, it really was, we weren't able to get to that piece of it. We almost would have needed a whole staff member for that.
Mm-hmm.
And we haven't been able to do that. But the good thing is it's happened organically. People come in, they ask for donations. We do that kind of thing daily. But then also when we have leftover products sometimes, and when we do, we really feel strongly about not throwing out food. Sometimes there is food waste in restaurants. It's just a matter of not being able to give prepared food to other people legally. But when it is possible, the Chester County Food Bank will actually allow us to donate bread or produce or anything that we feel we can, they can reuse or have people consume. And then we also have done events, many events for Greener Partners. We've done events for Gateway Horseworks. And personally, I've been recently a little bit involved with the fund. And an exciting project is for Gateway Horseworks. They actually do equine therapy, so for mental health, but with horses. And it's such an interesting program. And they just acquired a new property last year during COVID and are looking to get started on a vegetable garden so that they can feed the people who come for therapy to the farm, because many of them are food insecure. And so they can go there, they can have their therapy session with the horses, and they can leave with some produce. And they hope to have chickens as well. So we are actually sponsoring that vegetable garden from the Buttery.
That's
I'm
awesome.
excited about that project because I love gardening and growing food. So
Very cool. So you can kind of give back in like a supportive way financially, and then also just through kind of donations and that sort of thing. That's so cool.
yeah. And
oh, go ahead.
We'll be helping them set up volunteers too for gardening, for helping to maintain the garden. So that'll be fun.
That's exciting. That sounds really cool. So I know we're coming up here kind of right on the end. So the last thing we'd love to hear just from all of you would be, you know, in a word or a sentence, what guidance would you offer someone on the call tonight that, you know, is really looking to start a business or, you know, is at a crossroads of what to do? And Selenia, we can just kind of stay on you since we were there, and we'll work our way back.
Can you repeat that? Because my kids were talking to me in the other ears.
Oh, sure. It's just the one word or sentence of, you know, wisdom. What, as a business owner, what wisdom could you share with somebody who's ready to jump?
Yes. Sorry, that was an easy question to
Okay.
follow. I can't listen to two at a time. So when I was thinking about this, my initial thought was stick to your core values, because you know, there's so many crossroads and it's easy to get deterred by people saying what they want you to do with your business, or thinking, you know, you should go in this direction or you should go in that direction. And sometimes it's really great advice. It's worth listening to the advice or listening to the critiques even. And but sticking to those core values is so important, because you don't want to lose yourself in the process of growing a business.
That makes sense. And then Deanna, because I kind of feel like that even was a little bit about your dream and really kind of knowing what your vision was. So care to expound or add a new, maybe your own words of wisdom?
Yeah, so I think it's pretty simple. You know, as an entrepreneur, you normally, what I would say is, if you have identified a need and you are able to provide a solution, being an entrepreneur is all about taking risks. I mean, they should be calculated, right? They should be calculated risks. But I guess my one sentence would be that the key to your success is going to be to start before you feel like you're ready. Just do it. You can always move forward and then course correct along the way. But if you're always afraid to make a decision, you're going to stay right where you are. So begin before you are ready.
Got it. It's kind of like I think the phrase is like, the first step is the hardest, or, you know, like you just have to get going. Just get going.
Do it.
Awesome. And then Reese, I wanted to just end on you. I think you're so impressive in all the motivation and just responsibility that you carry as a young business owner. So I wanted to hear from you. What would be words of wisdom or guidance that you'd share with someone your age or any of us, really?
I would say, like, basically following up on what everybody else was saying, just keep going. Like, if you have an idea, like, just keep going. Like, don't stop it and change it. Just maybe, I mean, you can, like, change.
Uh-oh, did we get frozen on everyone's screen or just mine?
Oh, there we go.
Okay.
Did you hear the last?
I didn't get to hear your wisdom. Would you mind resharing it for me?
So, yeah, what I said was, if you have an idea, Oh, like if you have an idea, stick with your idea and push forward with it. Kind of what, yeah, and to stick with your idea and support your own ideas because it could be handy in the future and now. And like don't like put down your own ideas because they're great ones.